We spend most of our lives in a domain we expect to understand. You wake up, the lights turn on, the trains run on schedule, and the people around you act according to well-understood social norms. We exist in a structured world of habitable order until that system suddenly freezes. Beneath that structure lies something older and entirely unpredictable. You experience it when a trusted friend betrays you, when a routine medical checkup yields a severe diagnosis, or when your company unexpectedly fails. The predictable floor of your life drops out, and chaos replaces the familiar. When order collapses on a massive scale, the very air becomes uncertain. After the Twin Towers fell, the immediate terror of the collapse quickly gave way to a darker issue at hand. What exactly remained standing? Our modern instinct, when faced with these sudden disruptions, or even the early warning signs of trouble, is to retreat. We look for ease, chase fleeting bursts of happiness, and look away from the creeping complications in our relationships or careers, hoping they will simply resolve themselves. Ignoring the cracks in your reality does not repair them, it leaves you blind. When the structure inevitably gives way, you plunge into the freezing water of the unknown, completely unprepared to survive it. There is a severe psychological danger in taking this easy path. When you consciously choose to shirk responsibility because it feels safer in the short term, you commit a sin of omission. You leave a necessary task undone. Those ignored problems do not sit quietly in the background. Without your active attention and management, the unexamined elements of your life revert back into raw, formless potential. Left in the dark, that formless potential mutates. It grows over time into a predatory monster of the unknown, a creeping anxiety that feeds on your willful blindness and begins to color everything you do. You end up living a pretense while reality drifts further away. This growing disconnect creates a psychological abyss, and if that gap goes unmentioned and unaddressed, you will eventually fall into it. Refusing to deal with a manageable dose of the unexpected today is a guarantee you are trading a small discomfort right now for a completely unmanageable catastrophe tomorrow. The only reliable way to stop that creeping threat is voluntary confrontation. You have to willingly turn toward the unknown before it hunts you down. You are heavily equipped for this exact task. Your neurobiology is not designed for passive existence in a perfectly safe space. It is explicitly adapted to encounter novel, threatening information and physically wire new pathways to make sense of it. The first step is precise speech. Left vague, an emerging problem bleeds into everything else, making the world too complex to manage. Truthful articulation stops that bleeding. By naming the terrible thing carefully, you cut it down into an obedient object. Speaking clearly about what is broken is a literal act of creation. You are parsing the tangled mess of chaos and giving it structure, re-establishing a livable order through your own speech. Naming the problem is only the first half of the equation. You must then take active ownership of it. A responsible person looks at an ambient, communal problem and decides, voluntarily, to make it their personal burden to solve. This is the active archetype of the hero. By stepping into unexplored territory at a rate you can manage, you force your own courage to develop. You wrest habitable order out of the unknown. We can see the danger of the alternative by looking at the extreme opposite of this flexible order. Totalitarian systems attempt to eradicate the unknown entirely by enforcing absolute, rigid uniformity across every aspect of human life. That demand for absolute purity is ultimately deadly. It restricts the continuous psychological and social updates required to adapt to a world that is always changing. Without a mechanism for voluntary update, the system ossifies and breaks. True stability is not a rigid fortress you hide inside. It is dynamic. It relies on the daily, responsible act of confronting small amounts of chaos to keep your world updated and functional. We are frequently taught that happiness is the ultimate goal of human existence, but happiness is entirely dependent on things going well, making it far too fragile and fleeting to sustain you when tragedy inevitably strikes. When you choose to voluntarily mediate between the order you understand and the chaos you don't, you find something far more durable than happiness. You discover meaning. Meaning is a biological reality. It is an evolutionary instinct signaling from the deepest parts of your being that you are positioned exactly where you need to be, secure in what you have mastered, while actively exploring what you have yet to understand. From this perspective, taking on responsibility is not a pointless hardship or an arbitrary societal rule. It is the individual survival mechanism against malevolence and despair. Find the heaviest load you can possibly bear and pick it up. In doing so, you minimize the unnecessary suffering around you, and you forge a character capable of standing upright when the world falls apart.